Miranda Wicker from Not Just a Supermom and the writer for TV Fanatic.
Hmm.
They have their little stuff down there for any further information. Check that out. So, guys, you all were tasked with watching this episode, Hell Hath No Fury. What are your overall thoughts?
Well, I thought it was a good story. It kind of showed the conflict that Olivia has, um, which is I, I'm a perfectionist. I do my job well, and I'm good at it, and I'm supposed to have no emotions. But at the same time, when you're dealing with a horrible client, it's like, well, do I really want this person to get off? So I think it kind of shows her conflict in that episode.
What about you, Miranda?
Well, it was really good to go back and watch because since I watch so much television for work, I don't always get to go back and see them. So it was good to go back and see one of the beginning episodes where we saw like the team working together and we saw Olivia being on her game, and she sort of fell off her game a little bit in the middle of season 2 because she got wrapped up in Defiance. Mm-hmm. So it was good to go back and see, okay, this is who Olivia Pope is. This is how she works. This is how she operates. And to just kind of get a renewed sense of who she is and what her job is.
What were 3 highlights that kind of stood out for you during this episode, Eric?
3 for me would be, well, one of them would be when Quinn asked Olivia, well, what do you do now? What happens when you lose? And she just goes off like, we don't lose. There's always the next step. Another would be to kind of see how ruthless Cyrus was back before you knew he had a partner and all that, when he was just Cyrus, the chief of staff. Yeah, he was evil, and he was very ruthless in that episode. He lied to get what he wanted, mm-hmm. and his whole thing was driving Fitz and Olivia apart. And it's almost stark how evil he was in these first 6 episodes compared to season 2 when he had that partner to humanize him. Mm-hmm. And then we're still seeing kind of Melly is kind of halfway Melly. She's not all the way evil yet. She's still kind of showing heart a little bit. She knows that Fitz needs Olivia, and she's kind of made that deal with the devil.
So do you think that Melly in some way kind of flipped roles with Cyrus?
I do. I think that in season 2, Cyrus became the human being, mm-hmm. and Melly became the evil Machiavellian thing. And there was a time briefly when I thought she was the one who got Fitz shot.
I thought that too for a little bit. Yeah, briefly. For a little bit.
Because she didn't want him to get out the limo. And he, as soon as he got out, boom. So there was a time when I was like, well, how evil is she? How crazy is she?
Mm-hmm. But that's what they wanted us to think.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, they kind of threw a salute,
What about you, Miranda? What were your 3 standouts for this episode?
Well, first, it's the team working together and all performing their various roles and then coming back together to solve the case and save the client or send the client to jail together. It doesn't get much better, I think, than when they're all working together and they're all playing their parts. But then, you gotta give a shout out to the Huck and Quinn interactions in this episode because that's the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Quinn comes into the firm, and Huck sort of, even at the very beginning, he takes her under his wing, and now we know it's because he knew who she was, he knew her story, but then you didn't know that, and so you just see this budding friendship between the two of them, and so that was a good little throwback. His quick, "Oh, you're weird. No, I'm not weird. Oh, weird is good."
Yeah.
That's just the very beginning of their friendship, and then only because of the shock in the original, the first time you watched it, Amanda Tanner's "I'm pregnant" at the end, and then immediate to credits.
Yeah.
Because at that point, we don't know anything about it. We just know that Fitz has apparently knocked up an intern, and how are they going to spin this, and what's gonna be the fallout? And we don't, at that point. And I'm trying to watch it last night. Like, if I were watching it not knowing everything that I know.
Yeah.
And so then you're back in that moment of going, holy crap, what are we doing? What are we doing here on TV? This is crazy. And so that was just one of those nice little twisty moments that that eventually turns out to be something much different, but you don't know it at the time.
I liked the fact that Olivia created that the distraction for her clients to get him out of the hotel. That was like one of my favorite moments. She's like, I'm gonna need you to do me a favor. And then, you see that happen, and I thought that was pretty neat. And then the state dinner dance, loved that. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then the Fitz epiphanies, because that's what I call them, the Fitz epiphanies, because it seems like every episode she has these epiphanies about her relationship with Fitz, but it's actually her talking to somebody else, but she's always talking about that relationship.
Right. It's really about her.
Yeah, it's really about her, and she's talking to other people, but she's talking to herself. So I think that's something that I didn't catch when I was watching it actively as a viewer, and now I'm just like, wow, I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
So those were
the house moment.
Yeah.
Like, House always had that moment at the end of his episodes where you could see the light bulb go off, and suddenly, oh, it's lupus or whatever, like
right.
his diagnosis.
And I said on my blog that she is the anti-House in a sense, where House was like, I don't care about you, I want to solve this problem, and that's all I care about. You're just a mystery to solve. And Olivia's problem is she cares a little too much, I think.
Sometimes, yeah.
Because she, and this, the way season 1 was set up, there was this myth of Olivia Pope, and every time somebody says her name, it's like, wow, Olivia Pope, and it's like she's this larger, like, then you see her and she's all emotional and
she's human.
on the verge of tears. I'm like, that kind of,
she's human,
but you can't be human if you this myth. How do you build that myth if you're so human?
But she still has the myth. She's still human. I mean, she's a woman.
True. See, I think we don't see enough of the humanity in Olivia Pope. I think we don't see enough times when she breaks down. Like, we see them, but now that Steven is gone, like with Steven not in season 2, she doesn't have that person that she turns to who seems to know everything about her that he knew.
Well,
you're right. Because sorry. Go ahead.
Was gonna say, I think season 2 is funny because it's really like 3 seasons. If you think about the story arcs. So in the first story arc of season 1, you do kind of see her cry a little bit, and she's still dealing with the senator guy, and trying to.
You're talking about the first part of season 2?
Yeah, the first part of season 2. You still see her a little bit. Then it picks up and goes full steam into the Defiance conspiracy, and they totally killed a story of the week format. The only thing good to come out of that was
that it's over.
Well, no, I would say that was the period of the show where Huck became a substantial character.
Yes.
Where Huck became a character with depth, and I think those episodes that established Huck, they need to do that for every character. So I'm hoping in season 3 they do that for Harrison, or they do that for what's
Abby.
her face that I hate.
Abby.
You and everybody else.
I don't like Abby either, but I think that Steven may have humanized her, but Huck did the same. Like, Huck knew a lot about her too.
About Abby?
No, about Olivia.
Oh yeah. Huck does know,
But because he went into a tailspin and Steven's not there, it's a lot different. Like, it's almost like the people she relied on the most to kind of keep her together are nowhere to be found. Harrison is there, but Harrison is just a yes man. Like, he is. Yes, Olivia, whatever you say, I will do.
And I have notes about that coming up. I have notes about that on questions. He wasn't like that in the beginning.
No.
Right.
He wasn't, and now he is. And so that's been kind of an interesting change in that character, and I want to know more about him because I feel like they've done a disservice to him as a strong male character on the show in making him a yes man.
He's almost just disappeared. Personality.
He has.
I said on one. Go ahead.
I was gonna say his story has to be something to explain that relationship. Like when they do the Harrison story, when they make him a complete character, they have to tell why he is unquestioningly unfaithful, just faithfully loyal unconditionally to
Like a
Olivia.
dog.
It has to be.
It has to be something about why or what she rescued him from, and they don't really get into it the way they did with Quinn or the way they did with Abby and her abusive husband, and even Huck with his whole,
But they did talk
shell
about it.
shock vet a little bit.
They did talk about it. They said that he was in a bad work situation.
He was in jail.
Yeah, he was in jail. She basically.
But it has to be more than just she got him out of jail. It has to be more than that.
Right.
And he better not be your brother either. That's just too much. Like really. Yeah.
But that would kill any hope of romance between the two of them.
Brother.
I don't want them to have a romance.
I don't either, but I'm saying like there are probably people out there who wonder, and so that'd kill that. Like that would just. I would just go ahead and write that one off the table.
These first couple of episodes, I noticed that Huck smiled more. That was like one thing. I was like, he's smiling? What is going on?
He's not completely broken yet.
Yeah, that's true. So what was the case for this episode compelling and why? Did it support the storyline or did it kind of take away from it?
Well,
I think it supported the story. I mean, like the general in that at episode 3. Sorry, I just jumped in there. In episode 3, we're still building this show. We're still building these characters. We're still getting to know them all. And so, you're building that team mentality. And this is Olivia's gut. She's going to go with her gut. Her gut's never wrong. We've gotten away from that because her gut's been wrong.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and so seeing Sandra.
Wrong.
Sandra humanized her. That was like sort of, this is a client, this is a friend, and Olivia doesn't have a lot of friends. And so from Sandra, I don't think we really saw that until we met Verna.
Oh, that's true. You know what I actually liked about that? Sandra asked her, why did you leave the White House? Who leaves the White House? That was one standout for me with that relationship. And that is almost like a question that OPA needs to be asking themselves.
Yes.
Like they're telling us to look at OPA and wonder why they're not asking Olivia, why did you leave the White House? You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, that's a nice parallel right there. What do you think, Eric? What do you have a tree in the White House, Eric?
Me?
Oh, that's you?
Me.
Miranda?
I'm in a lobby at the library, and there's a vending machine that just kicked on.
I'm like, is that a train? You got a window open? What's going on? That ain't even you. I'm sorry, Eric. And besides that, Eric is not related to me, by the way.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no relation. That's why I left mine lowercase.
Oh. Which is ironic because my first name is always lowercase. So.
But I would say the main storyline. Again, it's kind of showing not only the lengths to which she will go to win a case, but who she's willing to go there for. And even she found a way to, even though she won, she found a way to kind of have justice served a little bit, even though she wasn't on the side of justice and defending that particular client. At the end, she said, you know what, it's not okay, it's not all right. And, you got to make him stand up for his crimes.
And she actually went to her house and had that Fitz epiphany with this woman about her son. And it worked out because the woman really didn't want her son to get away with that anyway. Right. And I like that a lot. What do you think, Miranda?
Well, definitely. I think at some point there's a line in either the end of season 1 or somewhere in season 2 where I think it's Harrison who says sometimes you have to work outside the law to still get the job done. And that I think is what Olivia sort of does. She works outside the box. You know what I mean? Like she goes around the law to get things done, and I think that's going to be interesting with David Rosen coming up in season 3. Is she's going to she's gonna, like, how is he gonna work with that? Because he knows how she works now. He knows that she's on the right side of justice. She wants justice to be served. If her client is truly guilty, she's going to find a way to not just let them off scot-free. And that killed her with Governor Reston and Governor Reston's wife. Right. You know, when she helped cover up a murder.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think the dynamic between her and David Rosen, I think she kind of, I want to say, corrupted him a little bit. Not in a moral sense, like he still has those principles, but now he's more corrupt in his procedure. Like he's willing to do certain things outside the boundaries of the rules to serve justice the way Olivia does, whereas before he was all about by the book,
black and white,
black and white, you know. And I think that at one point in the show he did become a kind of a nuisance because of, you know, his kind of Dudley Do-Right stance.
Yes.
and you know the way he approached things. But I think at the end I kind of felt satisfied with his character arc in season 2. I kind of felt good at the way he was able to kind of come back from that, because before it kind of seemed hopeless, like, oh, he's just a bum, he's going to crash on Olivia's couch and become a gladiator by default, you know.
He actually, I thought for episodes, I was like, oh, David is going to be a part of OPA. That's where this is going. And he, like Robin Thicke, blurred lines like Olivia does, because I think he really just wanted to be a part of the team and see how that worked. I think the whole thing was a strategy. Like, it was all his strategy to find out the underpinnings of OPA, get that card, get his life back on track, because that was really where he wanted to go. And I like that this episode showed us where they started establishing that friendship, because at one point he was like, I am not your friend. Like, don't play with me, girl. Like, this is not going on here. So yeah,
we're on the same page here. I have that in my notes too.
So yeah, David Rosen, I liked him this episode. I did think that if Travis would have slipped Harrison, that this episode would have been a little bit different. What predictions would you make for certain things to have happened in this episode and make an impact that weren't scripted in?
Right. Well, I think what they did do with the episode with the client was they kind of threw you a curveball, because, you know, you kind of felt, I kind of felt like his womanizing might have led to him being guilty of what he was accused of.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the way she broke down in the negotiations. And then
what? That was awesome. Right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I was like, look at this girl.
Yes, they had me fooled. I was like, oh, he did it. You know, yes. But I think what they could have done, maybe to kind of show that he was capable of something like that, maybe show him interacting with a woman in like a more forceful manner, or, you know, kind of like, you know, in a bar applying them with drinks, or, you know, maybe they could have had a situation where he slipped Harrison and happened to be at the same bar that Quinn was waiting for a date, you know, something like that. You know, that I think that could have shown us a little bit that he was capable of such a thing. And then when they actually uncovered that he did it, I think that it's still like, well, this goofball was a forceful rapist, you know, 4 years ago. I just think that, you know, it's kind of depressing to think that somebody that goofy and insignificant could be a rapist, you know.
I disagree, because I don't think he had to be macho, forceful, here, let me do this, to make it to be a rapist. You know what I mean? Right. I think probably the way that they played it as sort of this, I'm this party boy, this happened, this should not have happened. I tried to, even though it's despicable the way that he tried to just pay her off, you know, he tried to just make it go. Right. I think that's probably more true to how rape happens for some women. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where you're sort of, I don't think all rapists are these powerful, seeking to be rapists. I'm gonna get a lot of heat because people are gonna yell at me because I don't know what I'm talking about. That's what they're gonna say.
But
Do you know
sometimes
what
they're
I'm
not.
saying?
They're the boy next door, and that's pretty
Right.
much what he
Right.
was giving you, boy next door. And you would have never thought him capable, especially when he
Right.
kept saying, I didn't do this, I didn't do this, it wasn't me. And Olivia believed him. Because he was
Because
telling the
that
truth.
time it wasn't him.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, when they sat down at that table, and because this was my favorite part my favorite point in the episode, because I actually believed this woman. I was almost in tears. I'm like, oh my Jesus,
Yeah.
because she was such a good actress. I mean, the way that tear just rolled down her
Yeah.
face, and I was like, oh my, her mouth is trembling. I'm like, God.
She was
Okay,
very
you make this
convincing.
girl. And I
Yeah.
think that Olivia started to disbelieve her gut when she was sitting there across from this woman and she's crying this way. And she tells them, she's like, let's go. She tells Steven, let's go. And they get up and they leave instead of, continuing the negotiations. And then that just led into Harrison actually finding out that this guy probably did do something, because as soon as he said that thing where they always take the money in the end, Harrison was like,
What?
let me call Olivia
They
right
always
now.
take the money.
Yeah, they always take the money. What you mean?
But that was a good moment for Harrison.
It was.
Because that
it
was a
shows his
moment where, right, but not only that, that's one of those where he wasn't always a yes man.
Right.
That's
He was Team Olivia. He was like, all right, we're going to get this man acquitted because that's what Olivia wants. He's not guilty. But then he says that, and Harrison follows up punch,
Right.
And I don't think season two Harrison, he wouldn't do that. Season 2 Harrison would be like, nope, here's what we're doing. Let's do it because Olivia says so.
But it might be a good reason. Harrison might have been distracted in his non-existent personal life on the show that made him the yes man. Because when you are in your personal life and you have 12 million things to do, and then you're at work, your focus is not always on work. You're like, all right, I'll get it done. Okay, whatever.
Gladiators don't have personal lives.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I think? I think the show would have been like almost like Friends. I think the parent would have been Olivia, Steven, Huck, and Quinn, and Abby, and Harrison, because you see in season 2 with Harrison and Abby, and he had to lie to her about David, and when she found out he lied, and she was all hurt, and she's like, oh, that's just the way it is. You kind of get the feeling like they have not romantic ties, but kind of like a strong platonic relationship, almost like a family kind of thing. And she kind of
they are a family.
Yeah, and I think that this was going to be like the strictly platonic version of Friends with a mystery of the week thrown into it. But then Defiance
they didn't take Steven out, is what you mean?
Yeah, well, Steven missing, and then Defiance kind of took us off from character development, except for, like I said, Huck. Huck's character still was able to be developed because he was so instrumental in executing the Defiance thing with, kidnapping Quinn and all that.
Who was your favorite character this episode, Miranda?
Harrison.
Really?
Harrison, because he was such a strong character in the beginning, and he started out so much different than how he is now. That he was willing to do whatever he was willing to do it. He was willing to uncover the truth. And you got that smooth talking when he's down in the lab with the lab tech who's running the kits. You had that moment where he comes breezing in, and he's all, look at me, I look hot in my suit and my suspenders, and I'm gonna smooth talk my way into whatever you need. And she's like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, and he almost threw up when she started describing. So I'm like, ooh, look at his face. Yeah, you can't use that pretty boy look for everything. She's like, yeah, this is what I do. What my favorite character was Melly, because the way she manipulated Fitz and Olivia to get them together, she knew that they were having that affair, and she was like, I know what you need, because at the beginning she was like, you're not sleeping, what's wrong? And then he wouldn't say anything or whatever. Yeah. And she was like, okay, I know what he needs. He needs a little bit of swirl.
Brown sugar.
But that was still weird, because that's still before that Melly knows.
Yeah.
Like
but you know
she knows. But you don't know how, like, Melly was so all over the place in season 1 and early season 2 that there are parts of the time where I feel really sorry for her.
Right.
Because
they knew what to do with her character because she wasn't
we didn't
supposed to be a character on the show. Like they didn't have her as a regular, so they didn't know what to do with her. And I think that they just brought her on because most presidents have wives. Like that's pretty much a given.
It can't be insignificant. You can't tell the story of the president without the first lady.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Who was yours, Eric?
It has to be Cyrus, evil Cyrus. You know, before we knew he had a human side, before we knew he had a gay partner at home and enjoy gardening and all that stuff that they show.
He does not.
He's got bodies under those roses. That's why those roses are so pretty.
Yeah, he was ruthless. He was cold, and it's also before, we knew they did the flashbacks and showed that Olivia was his protege, and that she gets a little bit of her steal from Cyrus. So I think it's kind of interesting to see, how opposed he was to that relationship, that he was able to take it to that level.
He had her escorted off the White House grounds.
Yeah.
When her and Fitz were about to have a little closet gate.
Right. And it's funny because of the subsequent episodes, it's like she has the key to the White House. Like she just walk in at any time, openly just coming into the gates.
That must be the same key that opens the door to her house because so many people be up in there.
Oh yeah. Those two places have the laxest security. She's more safe at the office.
Yeah, I know. He's like, stay here. You should be safe. With those windows and snipers, didn't we see the president get shot off a building, but you're saying that she's safe in her office?
Right.
All right, Jake.
Okay, so here's something interesting real quick, and I just want to throw it out there. Do you think the setting changed? The set changed between season 1 and season 2? Because I started looking last night at like Olivia's apartment and the office to see what has changed since the beginning to now.
I think there's some extra rooms in that office, like just some additions.
In the office?
Yeah.
Like that big window with the stained glass?
Right.
We haven't seen that since that moment in episode 3.
Right.
You mean where they put the pictures and stuff up on?
No, Stephen opened a set of double doors, and Olivia's sitting in front of this giant window with stained glass behind it.
Oh.
And that's not her office now.
It doesn't look like that now. Yeah, they barely show her actual office now. They just show the whole building, and they show that conference room.
Yeah, they stay in that conference room.
Right. I think
David
there's actually
living in there.
There's actually 2 conference rooms. I think there's one they do when they're trying to solve a case. And then there's another one where, like when all the assassins came, I don't think that's the same conference room that they're in when they're solving cases. I think
I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
Goodness. So who was your least favorite character in this episode?
Mine is always Abby. She didn't have a lot to do, but I just don't like her. She was kind of insignificant this episode. No, actually, in this episode, the character that I really dislike the most is probably Amanda Tanner.
Really?
So you need help and you're lying.
But she's playing the game.
But that's Olivia's only rule. That's her only rule. Her only rule is don't lie to me. And she's lying. And it's kind of like House. House tells the patients, tell me everything, and then they're going on a whole episode trying to save your life, and you withholding the most vital piece of information,
that you've been to South America and you got a tick in your ear, and that's why you now have Lyme disease.
You might have mentioned that you was in Venezuela last week. I could have. But that's what's going on with you could have mentioned you was pregnant. You could have mentioned you were getting
but that was her ace
from
in
the
the
chief of
hole.
staff.
But Amanda Tanner's lying. I mean, but she's playing the game right now, so of course she's lying. And I mean, we know that now, and we don't know that then. But I can't even pay attention to her as like a serious character in last night's episode, knowing how it plays out. Other than that, like that line at the end, there are a couple of moments, but then it's just like, this is not even.
So Miranda, you were watching it with the idea, chick, you gonna die, whatever.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I'm sorry, I know what happens to you.
So I'm glad you died.
Sucks to be Amanda Tanner.
And her presence there just reminds me that Cyrus is a murderer. And we have to sit there because he's on the show, so we have to sit there and root for him and feel good about when he's happy and bad about when he's not. And
But you know, Fitz let him off that leash. He wouldn't have gotten off the leash if Fitz didn't let him off the leash. So
right.
I think Fitz is just as culpable.
He's a murderer too.
Yeah,
so we can't forget that.
Well, Cyrus, he got a taste of power. You know, that scene in with him and James when they're literally naked and they're bearing it all, and he says, you know, I wanted power. I wanted to be powerful, but I'm as close to powerful as I can get. That's how Amanda Tanner happened, because he had a taste of that power, because Fitz let him have it. You know, Fitz let him, while Fitz is off having an affair with Olivia and not running the country, he's letting Cyrus do it. That's how it happened.
Miranda, you can't fight the brown sugar, Miranda.
Okay, let me just say before people start yelling at me, I like them together when they're good, but I want to see them together in just like brushing their teeth and drinking morning coffee and talking about what's for dinner. Like, I want to see a normal interaction with them. That's what I want to see. And then I'll decide if I'm pro
The
team.
only time they're good is when
They're having sex in a server room?
That's true. Yeah. But outside of that was when Cyrus had that heart attack and they kind of united together. That's the only episode I saw. And even when they were down there in the basement and they had that powwow with all of the little cabal or whatever you want to call them, and they were talking about what needed to be done now about the Citron card and all that stuff, and Fitz was there. They did good there. But it's almost like you have so much coming up against you. How do you succeed at a relationship in the midst of all of the stuff that's going on around you? And there's always something to fix, and there's always somebody that needs help. And Olivia is usually the one that they go to, even if it's a White House situation. She doesn't even work for them anymore. I want to know what the billing looks like, because she's doing a lot of pro bono for the White House. Like, really, she's fixing everything that they got going on.
I'm not rooting for their relationship at all.
Really?
I'm not.
I like
think
them together. It gives me warm fuzzies.
Their relationship reminds me of. It reminds me of Don Draper on Mad Men. It's like
you did mention that,
right? It is because it's selfish. It's plain and simple. It's selfish. And
what's selfish about it, though?
I can't root for that. You know, like
what is selfish about it?
They had a brief moment where it wasn't selfish, and that moment was when Fitz was like, "You know what? I'm going to get a divorce. I don't care.
He had that
we
moment
can be together." And blah 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 blah. You know, towards the end of season 2, that's when it stopped being, you know, a selfish thing. But when she
told him he had to earn her.
But you know how many episodes where she was damn near incapacitated with her heartbrokenness, and the whole team had to operate without her, and they had to solve the case without her and do all these things without her, that she's at home crying about the married president.
But that's like, her heart. You're not a woman. You do not get it.
I mean, I get it, but at the same time, there's so much that's very not healthy about their relationship.
Of course, it's not healthy. It's a relationship.
We haven't seen it all, and that I think is why it's really hard for me to look at that and see them and want them. I know that they're in game, and I know that at some point we're going to get to see the parts of them together that will show, okay, this is a good, solid relationship built on mutual trust and understanding and love. But right now, so much of it seems like vying for power, and I just, it's so unhealthy to me most of the time that I can't feel good about it all the time. I can feel good about it when they're feeling good about it, if you know what I mean. But I can't feel good about it all the time.
I live vicariously through their sex life. I'm just saying. So I can't really, I understand where y'all are coming from, but you have to look at it in the thought of so many relationships are dysfunctional and do not operate in common sense ways, that they're just reflecting to us what a dysfunctional relationship looks like. And the reason a lot of women identify with it is because a lot of women are in dysfunctional relationships with partners that don't really give that kind of love that they need to have to be good, self-fulfilled women. And sometimes it does make you go in your room and lay in the bed and want to pull the covers up over your head and not want anybody to come in. And when you come in, I'm going to curse you out, get out my room.
But I don't,
that's just
I
how
don't
you
root
feel.
for any unhealthy or dysfunctional situation because
if we have enough dysfunction,
you're rooting for the show. You're watching the show.
You can get a healthy relationship. You know, you go out there and find something.
She can. She had it with Edison, but she didn't want that boringness.
Well, Edison was bad casting.
Exactly.
He was terrible.
Edison
That was a terrible cast. There was no chemistry between the two of them at all. None.
He was a little
too
Dudley Do Right for me.
A little bit, yeah.
They need somebody.
I liked Edison. I thought he was a good guy.
I think his character was a little too Dudley Do Right, a little too, a little too good.
Yeah.
You need somebody with a little bit.
Man, please.
But
he's a politician.
There's no Olivia's type is now. She likes somebody with a little bit of stank on them, and that's why the Jake thing worked.
I'm quite sure Edison has some stank on him. I hope he comes back and shows y'all all his stank. I hope he bends over in the camera and shows y'all every bit of the stank that you need to see, because Edison was
not gonna happen.
You know what? I will be interested to see happen is so much of the show is about the fact that Fitz is president. I like to see him lose the election and see what happens after that.
I would too.
Like to see him put.
But then we don't have a show. I feel like we don't have a show if Fitz isn't president.
Right. Do you have a show? Do you not have a show? Is it all tied to him being in that Oval Office?
I think
or is it something about him
Melly should be on the ticket with him. What do y'all think?
Well,
I think that should be something she demands as penance.
That would be interesting.
Is there a legal precedent for that? Can your mate be your vice president?
You never know. It's
TV. Of course she can.
Yeah.
It's possible.
But they're Republicans. Do they really respect women that much? I'm sorry. Let's stop.
Okay, now see now.
This ain't about
calling you a slut on your blog. Now here you go with this. I did think that she was a little slutty in this, show, because I was very disappointed in the fact that she slept with Jake, the old nasty skank hoe.
I like Jake. I like Jake.
What is it? No. You don't like Olitz, but you like Jake?
I do. Because Jake makes her laugh.
Jake makes her laugh. Pervert.
He makes her laugh. Fitz has never made her laugh.
Yes, he does.
We have never, not that we've seen. The only time we've seen him make her laugh is in Camp David when they're rolling around because they just had sex. That's
she
the only time
plenty when he's touching her. I think that's
no.
Jake makes her laugh.
There's a difference between Fitz and Jake. Not that I'm rooting for that relationship either, but
I'm not rooting for it, but I like it.
Not.
Right, but the thing about Jake is he laid his game down. And as a man, I respect that. Like, he's the first dude that came in and started from zero and got Olivia. Edison had a previously established
So he's Drake.
Yeah, he started from the bottom. But no, Edison had a previously established relationship, and Fitz was, the golden boy, about to be president kind of deal, and Jake had to start from, hey, who's this weird guy?
Well, he had to start from stalking her by planting cameras in her apartment.
Yeah, from stalker to boyfriend. And back to
he
stalker,
was never her boyfriend. He was something on the side. What were
but even,
he was a distraction.
And I think he got her to the point where she at some point felt so strongly about him that she wanted to prove herself to him. That one episode where he knows she's hung up on the president and she kisses him trying to convince him otherwise, and he's just not going for it.
Gosh.
Yeah, I think Jake laid his game down flat, and he really got to her. Not in a totally different way than Fitz gets to her, but he got to her too.
Yeah, he got some draws. That's all I can agree to.
He got to her, yo. He really messed her up a little bit too. That's all.
What were your favorite quotes for this episode?
For me, Um, it's that speech about not losing when Olivia snaps on
Yeah.
Quinn.
Poor
Quinn's like, well,
Quinn.
what do you do when you lose? And she's like, what?
Yeah.
Lose?
You don't lose.
We don't lose.
What was yours, Miranda?
Well, Huck and Quinn, oh, you're weird. No, I'm not weird. No, weird is good. And then when he goes to the bar and he sets her up, and he's like, no, I heard you on the phone. You need to be set up. Because Huck, I've always loved Huck, but I loved Guillermo Diaz from Weeds.
Right.
So my love for him goes way back.
And have too.
But yeah. But everything about him and everything about Huck is just, it's just good. Even when he's creepy, it's just, I love Huck.
He's a killer. Y'all love the killer, but y'all don't want.
Well, I can't help it. I can't help
y'all
it.
got some issues.
I can't help it.
Huck kills for noble reasons.
Noble reasons, like somebody says, go kill this person, and
I don't know if that's noble. I think he's doing what he's told. But
exactly,
fiercely loyal. He's doing it for his country.
At some point, he started to like it, though. So at some point, it wasn't just for his country anymore. But I still like everything about Huck. He's just. I just want to hug him. I just want to hug him and buy him an ice cream or something.
Wow, you want to hug him and buy him an ice cream. My favorite
he
quote.
Just needs something happy. He just needs happy.
My favorite quote was when Cyrus said, "He's not sleep and live," and then she says to him, "Cyrus, neither am I." That was my favorite. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, so sweet." So season 3, because we are going to try to have to wrap this up in the next 5 minutes.
Man.
Unfortunately, I have the other hangout, and I'm like,
can
y'all wait just a minute? So season 3, I'm going to try to combine a lot of these questions. What part of this episode do you feel is dangling that may reoccur on season 3?
David Rosen and OPA.
Yeah.
The we're not friends, but then the progression of that to a place where they were friends in season 2. Even though I still think, even though David was playing them most of the time, I still think that there's a friendship there, and I think he understands and appreciates what it is that Olivia does. And so now I want to know, now that he's back in the USDA's office, the district attorney's office, where does it go from here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
What about you, Eric?
For me, I just think that season 3, if they reclaim the case of the week format, they need to bring that back. And I think that tells us more about Olivia because it's putting her in multiple situations versus when season 2, where it was just that one thing that dominated her life for months. You know, so I'm looking forward to the case of the week format coming back and showing us, you know.
You think they got away from that a lot, or?
I think
the whole middle half.
Right. Right. And it was just like, even when they did kind of shoehorn one in, it was like not important. The most important thing still was defiance and the conspiracy and all that. So, you know, I'm looking forward to see them get back to, hey, I got this super rich person with a problem. You know, we need your help. You know.
So the upcoming election, because that seems to be something that they were preparing us for next season. Well, who do you think will run against Fitz? Who will be on his ticket? What are your predictions for that?
Well, it might be your boy. I think it's going to be your guy.
Edison?
I think it's going. I think they're going to try to mimic real events and have him be like the miracle black candidate.
Oh, Barack Obama.
You know, they're going to turn him into Obama. He has to get married first, though. He's going to find somebody. So he's going
with great arms.
Yeah. He's going to get married to a lady with great arms. Make Olivia jealous. And
you think Olivia will get jealous?
Yeah, she will.
A little bit.
She's not going to have anybody. She doesn't have a Jake. She doesn't have Fitz. She's going to be alone.
Jake's still in the hole.
Right.
Poor Jake.
Well, what's going to happen is Huck is going to stumble upon him one day. He's going to let me revisit my old haunts, make sure there's no dead bodies.
What about you, Miranda?
I think that they need to start with the primaries, and I think it would be interesting to give Kate Burton as Sally Langston a little bit more screen time to try and wrestle the candidacy away from him.
Oh.
To try and get the party to not go with an incumbent, and so he's got to fight Sally Langston to even run again. I think that would be interesting for at least part of the season.
But with Sally Langston, the Billy scandal came out, and they pretty much laid that at her doorstep at the end there when they were like, he was her. They kind of just pointed straight at her for that, and she kind of shrank back a little bit, like, I can't believe this is happening, because it ruins because the Republican Party is a whole lot conservative, so it to me puts a little stank on her. She's not going to really.
I didn't think about that when I was making that note last night, but so now I got to rethink it. But no, I think Edison could be interesting.
Well, the scandal version of the Republican Party is actually pretty lenient. They let the president have a gay chief of staff. You think that would ever happen in real life? The Republican president? I don't think so. Openly gay chief of staff, I should say.
Openly gay.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good thing. It adds it adds more to the show, and it brings in audiences and viewers that normally probably, well, I don't want to say that.
Oh no, I mean it's cool. I like that it's happening on the show, but I think that the scandal Republican Party is a lot more lenient and has qualities that the real world Republican Party doesn't.
So we didn't really talk about the fact that Fitz tucked his tail between his legs and went back to Melly at the end of this season. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that was disgusting.
I thought it was pathetic. I was like, really, Fitz?
When he actually got down on his knees and crawled across the room.
Well, he did not.
Well, he got down on his knees and he basically did. Yes, it was so. See,
it was pathetic.
He's pathetic. He's pathetic. Yeah. He does what people tell him to do. He does not have a spine of his own.
That is true. He does.
Only time he showed any kind of
is when he's telling Olivia to take her panties off.
Oh, when he killed Verna.
Yeah,
well, then too.
When he killed Verna, and it was like that's kind of out of character, but okay, I'll take it because it shows him having some type of spine. And then the whole thing where he's like, I'm not talking to Cyrus, I'm not talking to Melly. It was cool because that's when they introduced Jake, but other than that, it just didn't make sense to me. Even if he found out about the fines, it was kind of, he'd be mad, but I don't think he'd be mad where he's not speaking to either of them for months. I think that was a little dramatic.
A little bit. He's a little drunk, me.
Yeah.
I think that he is going to, I think he's going to stay with Melly. I think it's a sad situation that he. But you know what? You said something about it being out of character. I don't think so, because he was in the Navy or some kind of special force task. Remember when Cyrus was talking to him about the fact that some things had happened and all that stuff? Okay. I think that he probably has done stuff like that in the past, especially with him and Jake being friends. And Jake is clearly a murderer because he works for B613 and that's what they do. So I do think that he probably has some of that in his history. We just don't know about it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you all. I appreciate you for joining me.
Thanks.
This has been fun.
I appreciate it. Yay. So you all can tune into the Scandal Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, and Zune. And this, of course, will be on YouTube. So until next time, next week, stay sophisticated. Peace, gladiators.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.